Amara's back pressed against the cold marble wall of Jihoon's private office, his hand beside her head, caging her in. Their faces were inches apart, both breathing hard, the air between them crackling with months of suppressed desire. His dark eyes searched hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "This is wrong," she whispered, but her hand was already clutching the front of his black dress shirt. "I know," Jihoon's voice was rough, strained. His other hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheek with devastating gentleness. "Tell me to stop, Amara. Tell me to walk away." She couldn't. God help her, she couldn't. The sound of footsteps in the hallway outside made them spring apart. Minji's voice called out, "Dad? Are you in there? Amara and I are going shopping." Amara's heart hammered against her ribs as Jihoon stepped back, his jaw tight, adjusting his cufflinks with practiced ease. The moment shattered like glass. He turned away from her, and she could see the rigid set of his shoulders, the internal war he was fighting. "Go," he said quietly. "Before I do something we can't take back." But they both knew it was already too late. If you're ready for a forbidden love story that will wreck you emotionally, hit that subscribe button right now because this journey is going to be intense. Drop a like if you're already hooked, and comment below whether you think age is just a number or if some line should never be crossed. Now, let's go back to where this all began. 3 months earlier, Amara had arrived in Seoul with a scholarship, a suitcase, and a heart still healing from betrayal. Her ex had left her for someone lighter-skinned, someone he said his family would accept. The wound was still fresh, and she'd sworn off men entirely. Korea was supposed to be about her education, her career, her fresh start. She hadn't counted on Minji bursting into her life like sunshine, befriending her on the first day of orientation, insisting they be roommates, making Seoul feel less foreign. And she definitely hadn't counted on Minji's father. The first time Amara saw Kang Ji-hoon, he was standing in the penthouse apartment Minji had invited her to for dinner, city lights glittering behind him through floor-to-ceiling windows. He wore a tailored black suit that probably cost more than her entire scholarship, his salt and pepper hair styled perfectly, his presence commanding the room without effort. Minji had warned her that her father was important, influential, but she'd undersold it dramatically. "Appa, this is Amara. My new best friend I told you about," Minji had said brightly. Jihoon's eyes met Amara's, and something electric passed between them. Something dangerous. His gaze lingered a moment too long before he extended his hand. "Welcome to Seoul, Miss Thompson. Amara Thompson." Her hand disappeared in his, and his skin was warm, his grip firm. Professional. But his thumb had brushed across her knuckles, so subtle she might have imagined it. "Your Korean is excellent," he'd said, still holding her hand. "Thank you. I've been studying for years." Minji had laughed, oblivious. "Isn't she amazing, Appa? We're going to have so much fun together." That dinner had been torture. Every time Amara looked up, Jihoon was watching her. When she spoke, he listened with complete focus, asking about her research, her family back in Chicago, her impressions of Seoul. He was attentive in a way that made her feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in months. And it terrified her because he was Minji's father. Because he had to be 20 years older than her. Because the way her body responded to his deep voice and penetrating gaze was absolutely inappropriate. After that night, she'd tried to avoid him. She suggested meeting Minji at coffee shops instead of the penthouse. But Minji was devoted to her father, and he was often traveling, so she treasured time at home. Which meant Amara kept ending up in that penthouse, in Jihoon's proximity, trying desperately to ignore the tension that seemed to thicken every time they were in the same room. The second dinner, 2 weeks later, Minji had been called away by a phone call from her boyfriend, leaving Amara alone with Jihoon in his massive living room. "More wine," he'd offered, bottle in hand. "I shouldn't. I have class early tomorrow. 1 glass won't hurt." He'd poured anyway, and when he handed it to her, their fingers touched again. This time, it was definitely not accidental. "Mr. Kong. Jihoon. Please. That wouldn't be appropriate." His smile was slight, knowing. No, it wouldn't be. He sat down across from her, not beside her, maintaining proper distance. Tell me, Amara, what brings a brilliant young woman halfway across the world? And don't say just education. I can see you're running from something. She should have been offended by his presumption. Instead, she found herself telling him everything. About her ex. About feeling invisible in her own relationship. About needing to prove something to herself. He was a fool, Ji-hoon had said quietly when she finished. Any man who doesn't treasure you is a fool. The way he looked at her when he said it made heat pool in her stomach. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're kind because you befriended my daughter when she can be overwhelming. I know you're brave because you came here alone. I know you're strong because you're still standing after being broken. He paused, took a sip of his wine. And I know I should not be saying any of this to you. No, Amara whispered. You shouldn't. Yet I can't seem to help myself. Minji had returned then, bouncing back into the room, and the moment had evaporated. But something had shifted. Acknowledgement hung in the air between them now, unnamed but undeniable. The dinners continued. Sometimes Minji was there, sometimes she got called away by her boyfriend or friends. Amara started to suspect Ji-hoon was orchestrating these moments alone, but she kept coming anyway. They talked about everything during those stolen conversations. He told her about building his business from nothing, about losing his wife to cancer 5 years ago, about the loneliness of power. She told him about her dreams of becoming a journalist, about growing up Black in America, about feeling caught between two worlds. Do you ever feel lonely here? He asked one night, just the two of them on his balcony, souls sprawling beneath them. Sometimes. People stare. Some are curious, some are less welcoming. I'm sorry. Korea can be. He searched for the word. Homogeneous. Yes. But you stand out beautifully, Amara. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. She turned to look at him, at this powerful man who somehow made her feel safe and terrified simultaneously. Why are you so kind to me? His jaw tightened. You know why? We can't. I know. Minji is my best friend. I know. You're twice my age. I'm very aware. He gripped the balcony railing, knuckles white. I'm aware of every reason this is impossible. I list them every night. It doesn't change what I feel. Amara's heart had stuttered. Don't. Please don't say it. Why not? Because if you say it, it becomes real. And if it's real, I'll have to admit that she'd stopped herself, pressing her hands to her face. This is insane. Yes, he'd agreed quietly. It is. That night had ended with her leaving abruptly, and she'd avoided the penthouse for 2 whole weeks. Minji had complained, but accepted her excuses about studying. Amara had convinced herself she could stop this before it started, that distance would kill whatever was growing between them. Then Ji-hoon had shown up at her university. She'd been leaving the library late when she saw him leaning against a black Mercedes, suit immaculate, looking completely out of place among the college students. Her steps had faltered. You've been avoiding me, he'd said as she approached. Yes. Why? You know why. Say it, Amara. No. He'd stepped closer, voice dropping low. I miss our conversations. Ji-hoon. Just dinner. As friends. I promise to behave. She should have said no. One dinner. That dinner had led to another. And another. Always in private rooms at exclusive restaurants where no one would see them together. Always with the pretense of mentorship, of friendship. Always with the unspoken truth humming between them like a live wire. 2 months into whatever this was, things escalated. They'd been at a private restaurant in Gangnam, and Amara had worn a dress Minji had convinced her to buy, deep burgundy that hugged her curves. Ji-hoon's eyes had darkened when he saw her. You look. He'd stopped himself. What? Beautiful. You look beautiful. Over dinner, he told her about a business deal gone wrong, about threats from a rival organization. She'd seen beneath his controlled exterior for the first time, glimpsed the violence simmering under his polished surface. Most women would have run. Amara had reached across the table and taken his hand. What you do, your business, it doesn't scare me. It should. I'm not a good man, Amara. I don't believe that. I've done things. Terrible things. To protect what's mine, to build my empire. I have blood on my hands. She'd squeezed his hand tighter. We all have things we're not proud of. You're more than your worst moments. He looked at their joined hands, then at her face, something breaking in his expression. How are you real? I'm just me. No. You're extraordinary. And I am a selfish bastard because I know I should stay away from you, but I can't. I think about you constantly. When I'm in meetings, I wonder what you're studying. When I'm alone, I imagine what it would be like to. He'd stopped, withdrawn his hand. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate. What were you going to say? Amara. Tell me. Please. His dark eyes had burned into hers. I imagine what it would be like to kiss you. To touch you. To hear you say my name when I make you. He'd cut himself off again, jaw clenched. I should take you home. What if I don't want to go home? The air between them had turned molten. Don't say things like that unless you mean them. I mean them. You don't understand what you're asking for. Then explain it to me. He leaned forward, voice rough. I am not a casual man, Amara. If I have you, I keep you. I don't share. I don't do halfway. And I will ruin any man who looks at you the way I want to look at you. Her breath had caught. That's very possessive. I warned you. I'm not a good man. Maybe I don't want good. They'd barely made it to his car before his control snapped. He'd pressed her against the vehicle in the private parking garage, his mouth a breath away from hers. Last chance. Tell me no. Instead, she'd kissed him. It was electric. Consuming. His hands had framed her face while hers fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. He kissed like a man starving, like he'd been waiting months for this, which he had. They both had. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. Oh God, Amara had whispered. What did we just do? Something we can't take back. But he'd kissed her again, softer this time. I need you to be sure. Because now that I've tasted you, I won't be able to stop. This thing between us, it won't be easy. It can't be public. Minji. I know. The guilt had hit her like a wave. She can't know. Not yet. Not until we figure this out. Is there anything to figure out? This is her father and her best friend. This is a betrayal. Or it's two people finding something rare and precious in an unexpected place. He tucked a curl behind her ear with devastating gentleness. I won't pressure you. But I need you to know this isn't just physical for me. I'm falling for you, Amara. Probably already fallen. Tears had pricked her eyes. You can't say things like that. Why not? Because I'm falling too, and it terrifies me. That night had ended with more kissing in his car, with whispered confessions and desperate touching that stopped just short of crossing the final line. When he'd finally dropped her at her apartment, they'd sat in charged silence. Where do we go from here? She'd asked. Carefully. Slowly. This stays between us until we decide how to tell Minji. And if she hates us? Pain had flickered across his face. Then we deal with it together. The secret relationship had begun. Stolen moments in his office. Late-night phone calls. Messages that made her blush in the middle of class. He sent her flowers with no name, just a card that said, thinking of you. He learned to cook soul food from YouTube to surprise her. She learned about his culture, his world, meeting him halfway. But keeping it from Minji was killing her. Every time her friend gushed about how happy she was that Amara and her dad got along, guilt twisted in Amara's stomach. Every dinner at the penthouse where she and Jihoon had to pretend to be just friendly felt like a lie. 2 weeks into their secret, Minji had noticed something. You're glowing lately, she'd said, sprawled on Amara's bed. Is there a guy? Amara's heart had stopped. What? No. You're lying. I can tell. You have that look. Who is he? Do I know him? There's no one, Minji. I promise. The lie had tasted bitter. Fine, keep your secrets. But I want details when you're ready. She'd grinned. I'm just happy you're happy. You've seemed lighter lately. Korea's good for you. That conversation had led to Amara crying in Jihoon's arms that night in his office, the guilt overwhelming. Maybe we should stop, she'd whispered against his chest. Before we hurt her more. Can you stop? His hand had stroked through her curls. Because I've tried. Every rational part of me says this is wrong. But my heart doesn't care about rational. Mine either. And that makes me a terrible friend. No. It makes you human. He'd tilted her face up. We'll tell her. Soon. When the time is right. But the time never felt right. Which brought them to today, to that moment in his office before Minji had almost discovered them. After shopping with her friend, after pretending everything was normal, Amara had returned to her apartment to find a message from Jihoon. "We need to talk. Tonight. I'll send a car." The car had arrived at 8, taking her to one of his properties, a private penthouse across town. He'd been waiting, tie loosened, whiskey in hand, looking uncharacteristically unsettled. "What's wrong?" she'd asked immediately. "Someone knows about us." Her blood ran cold. "What? How?" "One of my men saw us together. At the restaurant last week." His jaw was tight. "He's ambitious. Untrustworthy. He'll try to use this information." "To do what?" "To leverage power. To blackmail me." He'd set down his glass, turned to face her fully. "Amara, my world is dangerous. I told you I wasn't a good man. The things I do, the people I deal with, they don't operate by normal rules. If they know you matter to me, they'll use you. They'll hurt you to get to me." Fear and anger had warred in her chest. "So what are you saying?" "That we should end this." "I'm saying I need to handle this carefully. And I need you to be careful too. No more public meetings. No more restaurants. Not until I neutralize this threat." "Neutralize? What does that mean?" His silence was answer enough. "Jihoon, you're scaring me." He'd crossed to her, cupped her face. "I will never let anyone hurt you. Do you understand? I would burn down my entire empire before I let someone touch you." "That's not comforting. That's terrifying. Welcome to my world." His thumb had brushed her lips. "I should let you go. For your safety. But I'm too selfish. Too far gone." She'd kissed him then, pouring all her fear and frustration into it. "I'm not going anywhere. We figure this out together." Together, he'd echoed, and then he was kissing her deeper, walking her backward toward the couch. Things had escalated quickly, hands wandering, clothes loosening. They'd come so close to crossing that final line before Jihoon had pulled back, breathing hard. "Not like this. Not when you're scared. When we make love for the first time, I want you thinking of nothing but how I make you feel. Make love. Not sex." The distinction had made her heart clench. "You're assuming there will be a first time." His smile was slow, confident. "Oh, there will be. When all this is settled. When you're mine completely. Possessive again. Always. Get used to it." She should have been annoyed by his presumption. Instead, arousal had pulled hot and insistent. "Take me home before I do something we'll both enjoy." The threat with his man had been handled, Jihoon had told her days later. She hadn't asked how. Some things she didn't want to know. But the scare had made them more cautious and more desperate. The secret was a pressure cooker, and they were both reaching a breaking point. Are you still with me? This story is about to get even more intense. If you're Team Amara and Jihoon, smash that like button. If you think they should come clean to Minji, drop a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're just getting to the good part. The breaking point came on a Friday night. Minji had invited both Amara and her father to dinner at the penthouse, completely innocent. Amara had tried to decline, but refusing would have been suspicious. So she'd gone, wearing a simple black dress, steeling herself for an evening of pretending the man across the table didn't make her pulse race. Dinner was torture. Jihoon's eyes kept finding hers, heated and hungry. His fingers would brush hers when passing dishes. Under the table, his foot had touched hers, and when she didn't pull away, had stayed there, that small contact burning through her. "Appa, you're distracted tonight," Minji had observed. "Is work stressing you?" "Something like that." His gaze had flickered to Amara. "There's a matter I'm trying to resolve. It's complicated. You work too hard. You need to relax more. Maybe start dating again," Minji had suggested brightly. "It's been 5 years since Yama passed. She'd want you to be happy." Amara had nearly choked on her wine. Jihoon's expression had remained carefully neutral. "I don't think dating is in the cards for me right now." "Why not? You're handsome, successful, kind. Any woman would be lucky. The women I meet are interested in my money or my power. Not me." "Then meet different women. What about someone completely unexpected? Someone who challenges you?" The irony was painful. Perhaps, Jihoon had said quietly, eyes on Amara. If such a woman existed. After dinner, Minji's boyfriend had called in crisis, some fight they needed to resolve. She'd apologized profusely and left, asking Amara to stay and keep her dad company. The moment the door closed, the atmosphere shifted. That was close, Amara had said. Too close. Jihoon had loosened his tie, poured them both whiskey. I'm tired of this, Amara. Tired of pretending. Tired of watching you across a table and not being able to touch you. Tired of lying to my daughter. So, what do we do? I tell her. Tomorrow. Panic had seized her. You can't. She'll hate us. She'll be hurt. Angry. But Minji loves us both. She'll come around eventually. What if she doesn't? He'd set down his glass, crossed to where she stood by the windows. Then we deal with it. But I'm done hiding how I feel about you. I'm 42 years old, and I've never felt this way about anyone, not even my late wife. What we have is rare. I won't keep it in the shadows anymore. Jihoon. I love you. The words had hung between them, devastating in their simplicity. I'm in love with you, Amara. Completely. Irrevocably. And I need you to tell me if you feel the same, because if you don't, I'll walk away. I'll let you go. But if you do, his hand had come up to cup her face. If you do, then we stop hiding. Tears had burned her eyes. You're my friend's father. This is insane. I know. You're 20 years older than me. I know. People will judge us. They'll say terrible things. I don't care about people. I care about you. Only you. His forehead had touched hers. Tell me, Amara. Please. Because I'm dying here. The tears had spilled over. I thought I was alone in this. He'd gone very still. What? I thought it was just me. That I was crazy for feeling this much, this fast. That I was a terrible person for falling in love with my best friend's father. The words had tumbled out between sobs. I love you too. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Relief had transformed his face. He'd kissed her tears, her cheeks, finally her mouth, and this kiss was different. This kiss was a promise. A claim. When they'd finally broken apart, both breathing hard, he'd rested his forehead against hers. Say it again, he'd whispered. I love you. Again. I love you, Jihoon. He'd shuddered against her. You have no idea what you do to me. Show me. His eyes had gone dark. Amara. I'm sure. I've been sure. I want this. I want you. He'd swept her into his arms, carrying her toward his bedroom, and Amara's heart had hammered with anticipation and a little fear. This was happening. They were really doing this. Then his phone had rung. He'd cursed in Korean, harsh and creative. I have to take this. It's my security. The call had been brief but tense. When he'd hung up, his expression was grim. What's wrong? There's a situation. A rival organization making moves on my territory. I have to handle it tonight. Disappointment and relief had warred in her chest. Okay. He'd pulled her close, kissed her deeply. This isn't over. Tomorrow. I'll tell Minji tomorrow, and then you're mine. Completely. Understand? Yes. Say you'll wait for me. I'll wait. But tomorrow had brought complications neither of them anticipated. Amara had woken to frantic knocking. Minji had been at her door, mascara running, devastated. He cheated on me, she'd sobbed. Taehyun cheated. I found messages. Amara, I can't breathe. The day had been spent consoling her friend, holding her through tears, plotting revenge on the boyfriend, helping her move out of his apartment. By the time evening came, Minji had been exhausted and raw. Can I stay with you tonight? She'd asked. I can't be alone. Of course. Jihoon had texted. How is she? Heartbroken. She's staying with me tonight. Take care of her. We'll talk tomorrow. But tomorrow had brought more complications. Minji had decided she needed to get away from Seoul, from the memories. She'd asked Amara to come with her to Jeju Island for a week. Please? I need my best friend. And you're the only person who makes me feel less alone right now. The guilt had been crushing. Here was Minji, calling her best friend, trusting her completely, and Amara had been sleeping with her father. Lying to her face. She'd wanted to confess right then, but Minji was already so broken. Adding this betrayal would destroy her. So Amara had gone to Jeju, and every day away from Jihoon had been torture. They'd texted constantly, talked on the phone when Minji slept, counted down the days until they could be together again. "I miss you," he'd said one night, voice rough with longing. "I miss you too. When you get back, no more waiting." I'm telling her, "Jihoon, maybe we should wait. She's so fragile right now. And she'll be fragile next week, and the week after. There's never going to be a perfect time, Amara. But I'm done putting my life on hold. I love you. I want to be with you. Openly. Even if it costs you your relationship with your daughter?" Silence. "Then, I hope it won't come to that. But yes. Even then. Is that selfish?" "Yes. I know. But I've spent 5 years being alone, being the dutiful father, the responsible boss. For once, I want something for myself. I want you." When Amara had returned to Seoul, tanned and exhausted from a week of emotional support, Jihoon had been waiting at her apartment. The moment she'd opened the door, he'd pulled her inside and kissed her like a dying man finding oxygen. "Never again," he'd murmured against her lips. "Never leave me for that long again." It was a week. A week too long. He'd framed her face with his hands. "I told Minji I needed to talk to her tomorrow. I'm doing this, Amara. With or without your blessing." Fear had seized her. What if she never forgives us? Then we build a life without her blessing. It will hurt. I'll mourn it. But I won't lose you. Not for anyone. The certainty in his voice had broken something open in her chest. "You really love me. Did you doubt it? Sometimes I think I dreamed this whole thing. That a man like you can't actually want someone like me." His expression had turned fierce. "Someone like you? You mean intelligent, beautiful, kind, brave? You're right. You're too good for someone like me. I'm the one who can't believe you want me. I do want you. So much. Then trust me. Trust us." He'd kissed her softly. "Tomorrow changes everything. Are you ready?" "No. But let's do it anyway." But tomorrow never came. That night, Amara had been walking back to her apartment from the convenience store when a black van had pulled up. 3 men had grabbed her, thrown a hood over her head, and dragged her inside. She'd screamed, fought, but they were stronger. A prick in her arm, and darkness had swallowed her whole. When she'd woken, she was tied to a chair in a concrete room. Terror had clawed at her throat. A man had entered, expensive suit, cruel smile. "Miss Thompson. Sorry for the rough treatment. I'm Park Sungmin. I believe you know my business rival, Kang Jihoon." Her blood had turned to ice. "Nothing to say? That's fine. You don't need to talk. You just need to exist. When Kang realizes we have you, he'll give us what we want. He won't. I'm just his daughter's friend." Sungmin's smile had widened. "Please. We've been watching. We know you're much more than that. The way he looks at you? The secret meetings? You matter to him. Which makes you very valuable to us." Amara had tried to keep her expression neutral, but fear must have shown because Sungmin had laughed. "Don't worry. We won't hurt you. As long as Kang cooperates. He has territory we want, businesses we want. He's been refusing to negotiate. But now we have leverage." He'd left her there, alone in the dark, and Amara had never been more terrified. She tested her bonds, but they were too tight. All she could do was wait and pray that Jihoon would find her. Hours passed. Maybe days. They'd brought her water, food, but no information. Her mind had raced with worst-case scenarios. Would Jihoon trade his empire for her? Would he even know she was missing? Then the door had burst open, and Jihoon had been there, suit bloody, gun in hand, eyes wild. Behind him, bodies littered the hallway. "Amara." Relief had broken his voice. He'd cut her free, pulled her into his arms. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "I'm okay. Scared, but okay. I'm going to kill them all. Every single one. You found me. Did you think I wouldn't? When you didn't answer your phone, when Minji said you never came home, I tore this city apart looking for you." He'd cupped her face and his hands were shaking. "I thought I lost you. I thought," his voice had broken. "I'm here. I'm okay. We need to move. My men are securing the building, but we need to get you somewhere safe. He'd led her out, shielding her body with his, and Amara had seen the carnage he'd left in his wake. This was the violence he'd warned her about, the darkness beneath his polished exterior. She should have been horrified. Instead, she'd felt protected. They'd made it to his car, and he'd driven like the devil himself was chasing them. Only when they'd reached one of his safe houses, a nondescript apartment in Itaewon, had he finally stopped moving. He'd paced like a caged animal while she'd sat on the couch, processing everything. "This is my fault," he'd said finally. "They took you to get to me. I brought this into your life. Ji-hoon. You could have died, Amara. Because of me. Because I was selfish enough to want you despite knowing how dangerous my world is." She'd stood, crossed to him, took his bloodied hands in hers. "I'm okay. This time. What about next time? Then you'll find me again. I can't lose you. I won't survive it. You won't lose me. I'm not going anywhere." He'd pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. "I love you. God, I love you so much. I love you too." They'd stood there, holding each other, and Amara had realized this was real. This dangerous, impossible, beautiful thing between them was real. Then Ji-hoon's phone had rung. His expression had shuddered when he'd looked at the screen. "It's Min-ji. She knows you're missing. She's frantic." Reality crashed back. What do we tell her? The truth. All of it. She deserves that much. He'd answered the call. "Min-ji, I have her. Amara's safe." Amara couldn't hear Min-ji's response, but Ji-hoon's jaw had tightened. "Come to the Itaewon safe house. We need to talk. Both of us. About everything." When he'd hung up, Amara's heart was racing. "She's coming." "Yes. And I'm telling her about us. No more secrets." 20 minutes later, Min-ji had burst through the door, makeup smeared from crying, and thrown her arms around Amara. "Thank God. I thought, when you didn't come home, when no one knew where you were," she'd pulled back, looked at her father. What happened? Why was she missing? Ji-hoon had guided them both to sit, and Amara had watched him struggle for words. "One of my rivals took her. To use as leverage against me." Min-ji had paled. "Why would they think taking Amara would matter to you? She's just my friend." The moment of truth hung between them. "She's not just your friend. Not to me." Ji-hoon's voice was steady, but Amara could see the tension in his shoulders. "I'm in love with her, Min-ji. And she's in love with me." The silence that followed was deafening. Min-ji had looked between them, comprehension dawning, then horror. No, you're joking." "I'm not." "How long?" Min-ji's voice had turned cold. 3 months, Amara had whispered. "Min-ji, I'm so sorry." 3 months. You've been lying to me for 3 months. Min-ji had shot to her feet. "You're my best friend. He's my father. How could you?" "We didn't plan this," Ji-hoon had said. "It just happened. Things don't just happen. You chose this. You both chose to betray me." Tears had streamed down her face. "Every dinner, every conversation, you were lying. Looking me in the eye and lying. We wanted to tell you," Amara had pleaded. "So many times. But we didn't know how. So you just kept screwing behind my back?" "It's not like that," Ji-hoon had said firmly. "This isn't casual. I love her. I want a future with her." Min-ji had looked at him like he was a stranger. "She's 22, Appa. 22. I'm your daughter. My age. How is that not disgusting to you? Age is just a number when two souls connect. That's what predators say." "Min-ji." Ji-hoon's voice had turned sharp. "What do you want me to say? Congratulations? I'm happy for you." She'd laughed bitterly. "You've ruined everything. Both of you. She was the only real friend I had here, and you took that from me." "I'm still your friend," Amara had said desperately. "No. You're the woman sleeping with my father. We can't be friends." The finality in her voice had shattered something in Amara's chest. "Please. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You both did." Min-ji had looked at her father. "I need time. Away from both of you. Don't contact me." She'd left, and the door slamming behind her had sounded like a gunshot. Amara had collapsed onto the couch, tears flowing freely. Ji-hoon had sat beside her, pulled her into his arms. "She hates us," Amara had sobbed. She's hurt. She'll come around. You don't know that. No, he'd admitted. But I know she loves us. That has to count for something. Maybe we should end this. Before we lose her completely. His arms had tightened around her. No. I won't give you up. Not even for her. Does that make me a terrible father? It makes you human. They'd sat there in the wreckage of their confession, holding each other, and Amara had wondered if love was supposed to hurt this much. The next week was agony. Minji had blocked both their numbers, refused to see them. Jihoon had sent her messages through her aunt, assuring her they weren't backing down but giving her space. Amara had moved into Jihoon's penthouse for safety, and living together had been both wonderful and painful. Wonderful because they could finally stop hiding. Painful because Minji's absence was a constant ache. Do you regret this? Jihoon had asked one night, curled together in his bed. No. Do you? Never. But I hate that it's costing you your friendship. I hate it too. But I love you more. He'd kissed her slowly, thoroughly. You're mine now. Completely. No more hiding. Yours, she'd agreed. They'd made love that night, finally crossing that last barrier, and it had been everything Amara had imagined and more. Jihoon had been gentle, patient, worshipping her body with a reverence that had brought tears to her eyes. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, she'd felt whole for the first time in months. I love you, she'd whispered against his chest. I love you too. My beautiful girl. 2 weeks later, Minji had finally called. I'm ready to talk, she'd said stiffly. They'd met at a neutral coffee shop, and the tension had been thick enough to cut. Minji had looked exhausted, like she'd been crying for days. I'm still angry, she'd started. I'm still hurt. But my aunt helped me see some things. What things? Jihoon had asked gently. That you've been alone for 5 years. That you deserve happiness. That Amara makes you smile in a way I haven't seen since Yama died. She'd looked at Amara. And that you were hurting too. That falling for him wasn't some calculated betrayal. You both just fell. Hope had bloomed in Amara's chest. Minji. I'm not saying I forgive you. Not yet. You still lied to me. But I'm willing to try. For both of you. Because I love you both, and losing you both would hurt more than this does. Tears had spilled down Amara's cheeks. Thank you. Thank you for trying. Don't make me regret this. We won't, Jihoon had promised. It hadn't been easy. Minji had set boundaries, needed time, had days where the hurt was too much. But slowly, carefully, they'd rebuilt. Family dinners had resumed, awkward at first, then gradually more comfortable. Minji had started to see them as a couple, had even grudgingly admitted they were good together. You look at her like she hung the moon, she'd told her father one day. Because she did. For me at least. 6 months later, Amara had moved into the penthouse officially. A year later, Jihoon had proposed, a stunning ring and a promise to love her forever. Minji had been there, had cried, had hugged them both. I'm happy for you, she'd whispered to Amara. Genuinely happy. You're good for him. And he's good for you. Does this mean you forgive us? I'm getting there. Ask me again when I'm a bridesmaid at your wedding. The wedding had been intimate, family and close friends, and when Amara had walked down the aisle toward Jihoon, his eyes had shone with tears. They'd written their own vows, and his had wrecked her. You taught me that it's never too late for second chances. That love doesn't follow rules or timelines. That the heart wants what it wants, and sometimes the most unexpected person becomes your everything. I love you, Amara. I will love you until my last breath and beyond. Her vows had been equally devastating. You saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I felt worthless. You loved me when I thought I was unlovable. You're my unexpected blessing, my dangerous romance, my forever. I love you, Jihoon. Age, culture, circumstances, none of it matters. Only us. Only this. When they'd kissed as husband and wife, Minji had been crying in the front row, happiness and residual pain mixing on her face. Later, at the reception, she'd pulled Amara aside. I forgive you, she'd said simply. Fully. Completely. I see how he looks at you. How you look at him. That's real. That's rare. I'm sorry it took me so long to accept it. You had every right to be hurt. Maybe. But I'm choosing love over hurt now. You're my best friend. And you're going to be an amazing stepmother, which is super weird to say. They'd both laughed through tears. Now, lying in bed with her husband of 1 week, Amara reflected on the insane journey that had brought them here. What are you thinking? Ji-hoon murmured, pulling her closer. That this was worth it. All the pain, the fear, the guilt. It was worth it for this. For us. For us. He'd kissed her temple. I'd do it all again. Every moment. As long as it ended with you in my arms. You're very romantic for a mafia boss. Only for you, Mrs. Kong. Mrs. Kong. She'd never get tired of hearing that. I love you, she'd whispered. I love you too. Forever. And she'd believed him. Because some love stories didn't make sense on paper. Some love stories were messy and complicated and wrong by every conventional standard. But that didn't make them any less real. Any less precious. Their love had been forbidden, dangerous, impossible. But it had also been inevitable. From that first dinner, that first stolen glance, they'd been heading toward this moment. Two souls recognizing each other across an impossible divide and deciding that love was worth the fall. Minji had been right to be hurt. Society had been right to judge. But Amara and Ji-hoon had been right to fight for each other. Because in the end, love wasn't about what made sense. It was about what made you feel alive. And Ji-hoon made her feel more alive than she'd ever thought possible. So there you have it. A forbidden love story that defied every rule and won anyway. If this story wrecked you emotionally, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. What did you think of Amara and Ji-hoon's journey? Was Minji right to forgive them, or should she have stayed angry? And would you risk everything for a love like this? Subscribe for more intense Afro-Korean romance stories that will have you feeling all the feels. Drop your thoughts below because I love reading your reactions. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most impossible love stories are the ones worth fighting for.